Play or exercise? A child's body doesn't know the difference, but their mind tells them when they're having fun. Youth fitness guy. How's it going, Travis?
Good. We went skiing again this morning. We got back from our week-long trip to Lake Havasu where Duke and Keely got to meet and play in the dog
That's
park for
right.
an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were a good match.
It
Keely
was
runs and
fun.
Duke chases.
It was really
Much
fun.
slower. Uh, I built my gym for 14 hours yesterday, so it's looking pretty good. It's pretty functional.
14 hours is a lot, but I saw the pictures and it looks awesome.
Yeah, it's it's very, very functional. I have one more thing left to hang because they didn't give me everything I needed to
Oh,
hang it, and I
dang.
didn't prepare. Um, and I took Duke on a 4 mile hike in the snow today after we were done skiing.
Phew.
So it's been a good day. Oh, and we were speaking about goals. It's only the second week of January. I don't know when this gets released, but uh,
Maybe next
I,
week. I
I
don't
had
remember.
mentioned that the reason I didn't hit some of my goals was mostly because of a habit tracking
Mm-hmm.
problem. So I created a spreadsheet to track
Nice.
all my habits. So I'm
That's
going to track my
awesome.
habits. I'm going to track all the books I listen to. I'm going to track all the books I read this year so I can do my yearly review next year and have like concrete crap to look at and be like, hey man,
Wow. That's
kind of screwed
cool.
up. But also, like, yeah, I can look at it weekly and monthly and be like, okay, Travis, you have a 10,000 pull up goal this year and you are way off.
10,000 pull up.
It's
Wow.
only 200 a week. It's
That's
not
a
crazy.
lot of push ups. Well, that's a
It's
lot
pull
for
ups,
me.
but it's different.
Sorry, I meant pull ups. It's still a lot for me.
How's it going, Lauren?
It's going great. We actually also went snowboarding this morning with some friends, and I did my very first successful toe side turn, and then I got better at it and did it probably 10 more times before we were done.
Nice.
Yeah, after a lot of falling, I figured it out. um,
Nice.
yeah, we also did a blue line, or I did a blue line confidently for the first time, which was
Nice.
exciting. It was a big day for me. I like really got pushed out of my comfort zone because we went with some friends who, one of them was a skier, but the other was like a pretty good snowboarder, so he kind of pushed us out of our comfort zone more. Um, and then afterward, we got our pups together to play and let their energy out because they were sitting home alone for the whole time.
When you get to the blues and you can confidently like navigate blues on ski slopes, it opens up like 70% of every mountain.
Well, it's just, yeah, it's super exciting because I've really only ever done one run over and over and
Yeah,
over
over
and
there,
over
you
and
only
over.
have one green.
Yeah, one like long green.
Yeah.
The problem is like the blues. I feel like they vary so much. We've done blues
Yeah.
before, and like the ones that we had done previously have been so much out of my skill level. But the one that we did today was one that we hadn't done before, and it wasn't bad. I was like, hey, okay, I could do this one, and
The
we did
first
it
blue I
a
did
lot.
over there is was like the scariest thing I ever did. I remember I just sat down at the top and I was like, I'm not going down this.
Yeah, yeah.
But there was no other option. It was like it's just a steep drop right
It was,
beside the lift, or you can go around to a steep drop right beside that lift.
it was scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the blues are just, whew. I feel like there should maybe be like a level in between green, blue, and black. Like maybe there should be like a yellow or
In
something.
in Telluride, they have blues and double blues.
Oh, see, that would be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You can
they
do it though.
they should. Well, we'll see. I gotta get
Once you
more
get the
practice.
blues and you get down, if you can get down a blue confidently, you can get down any of them. You just might not be confident.
Well, that is true for sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
um, Also, I've been using and loving my new planner. I feel like it's keeping me way more on track with the things I need to do and my goals, which is really awesome. So,
awesome.
what are we going to talk about today, Travis?
Lauren, when I was young, they told us that lifting weights as a child would stunt growth. And the American Academy of Pediatrics reportedly used to have a stance that weightlifting was not beneficial because kids could not build muscle like adults do due to hormones. Is there any truth to any of this?
Great questions. I feel like there's a lot of common misconceptions about resistance and weight training for kids. So, interestingly enough, the American Academy of Pediatrics put out a 2020 clinical report. That's a revision to previous reports, and they addressed a lot of these common misconceptions. So, common misconception number one is that a child is unable to increase strength before puberty. So testosterone and growth hormone are the hormones that are necessary for building significant muscle mass, and they are just not produced enough before puberty to build that significant muscle mass, hence why this is a common misconception. However, prepubertal children are able to gain strength by an increase in neurologic recruitment of muscle fibers, and gains in strength can be made with low injury rates if resistance training programs are well supervised with an emphasis on proper technique. The other really common misconception is that resistance training may stunt growth. I heard this growing up all the time too. But again, this 2020 clinical report said that well-designed resistance training programs have not been shown to have a negative effect on growth plate health, linear growth, and cardiovascular health in youth. So, myths are busted.
I saw someone that broke their growth plate once.
You did?
I saw them as an adult. I didn't see them when they broke their growth plate. But it's wild because,
Really?
yeah, they broke their femur and at the growth plate site, and their femur just stopped growing when they were 10. So they had a really short, I think it was his right leg was really short.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was wild.
That's crazy.
But my guess is that weightlifting actually makes injuries like that less likely in kids. I would
Yeah.
be interested to see if in 10 years if we have that information. Anyway, weightlifting for children and adolescents is criticized in some circles and has been a controversial aspect of resistance training for young people for years. Most of this controversy is because of the explosive nature of weightlifting. I don't really understand it. Sports are way more explosive than any weightlifting. So
Yeah,
if
and kids
something
do
is
those
going to,
so early on.
yeah, if something is going to stunt your growth or have negative things, it's probably going to be skiing, snowboarding, football, where you have basketball, where you're constantly jumping.
Gymnastics.
Gymnastics is insane compared to weightlifting. So yeah, I never really understood this. So although injuries can occur during weightlifting and related activities, the incidence and rate of injury appear to be really low, and severe injury is uncommon. So one particular study reported that over a 1-year period, no training days were lost from injuries resulting from weightlifting training and competition performed by 70 male and female children ranging in age from 7 to 16 years. Another study was more detailed, followed up on 3 girls and 8 boys between 12 and 13 years old across the 1 years of competitive competition. They had done 534 competition lifts on average. Both the boys and girls showed marked improvements in weightlifting performance and had no injuries requiring medical attention or loss of training time. The conclusion from these 2 observations was that if training and competition are age group appropriate and properly supervised, weightlifting training and competition can be substantially safer and more efficacious than had been generally believed. And I will say real quick for the listeners, we are summarizing in general, we're summarizing several systematic reviews and narrative reviews that are summarizing hundreds and hundreds of studies on weightlifting in children overall through the rest of this. We did not break it down to individual studies like we have in some previous episodes.
Yeah. We've singled just a couple of them out, but mostly we're summarizing a whole lot of evidence. So in addition to the fact that there aren't as many injuries as I think people have been worried about, like from the studies, there's really not that many at all. there's a ton of benefits to weightlifting and resistance training for children. In fact, a number of performance, physical, and physiological variables, such as body composition, strength, and power, are improved by weightlifting training in children, adolescents, and young adults. While there have only been a few studies that have actually looked at the effects of weightlifting on adolescents and children, the ones that have found that resistance training has been shown to result in a number of positive effects, including strength improvements, transfer of training effects to other activities, such as sports, increased health outcomes, fitness, rehabilitation of injuries, injury reduction, physical literacy, and general well-being. There's also evidence to support that appropriate physical training, including resistance training and weightlifting, can promote psychological well-being, self-esteem, enhanced pain tolerance, improved cognition, and perhaps character development.
Shocking. Little humans get the same benefits from lifting as big humans get.
Yeah, and probably at a more critical time in their lives, too.
Yeah, we'll probably see in the future with more research that it is actually even more important than the benefits we get from it as adults. So several reviews of the literature, as I mentioned, found that children can improve strength by 30 to 50% after just 8 to 12 weeks of a well-designed strength training program, which is, it's crazy how fast. And I've seen this with adults too, those same numbers, maybe even more. It's crazy how fast you can improve your strength.
Yeah.
They also found that you need to continue to train at least 2 times per week to maintain the strength. Case reports of injuries related to strength training, including epiphyseal plate fractures and lower back injuries, are primarily attributed to misuse of equipment, inappropriate weight, improper technique, or lack of qualified adult supervision. From lifting with the high school kids, I can tell you they definitely need supervision. One, for proper form and stuff like that, because they get so excited to go heavy.
Yeah.
But even more importantly, it's because if you have 40 boys, they start joking around. Right. So in between sets and stuff, they can, do stupid stuff and hurt themselves.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember being in weights in high school and oh my gosh, we were not trained on anything. But also it was kind of a joke. So you're just messing around. You definitely need supervision.
Yeah. The studies also found that athletes and non-athletes alike can successfully and safely improve their strength and overall health by participating in well-supervised programs. Trained fitness professionals play an essential role in ensuring proper technique, form, progression of exercises, and safety in this age group. The benefits are substantial and widespread, including just simply improving coordination and movement. Some kids move really, really weird and non-athletically. And yeah, when you move weird and non-athletically, you fall weird and non-athletically, and then you get hurt.
Yeah, I'm a prime example of that, especially as a kid.
Yeah, but you're Gumby, so you probably just bounce.
Well, I didn't break, that's for sure. But it has been a problem trying to overcome that later in life, unlearning terrible movement patterns.
So when putting together a program for youth, for lifting weights and understanding of the sport, scientific training principles, and musculoskeletal growth development is necessary to properly construct a reasonable and appropriate training program. Lauren, what age can people safely begin training?
Well, it's a complicated question, but we'll answer it. An initial concern is whether the child is physically and psychologically prepared. I feel like a lot of this really speaks to me because I work with kids, because some of them are not just not physically prepared, but not psychologically prepared. Anyway, so from a psychological, emotional perspective, it's important that children and adolescents be encouraged to participate in physical activity that challenges and provides enjoyment and satisfaction. The level of emotional and intellectual maturity is important to recognize in children and anyone else when initiating a training process. A child who is unable to comprehend what he or she is being asked to do may emotionally react in a negative manner to the training program. So just the coach needs to be prepared for these kind of emotions and rapidly take appropriate action for that. The appropriate age for initiation of formal weightlifting training can be as young as 10 to 11 years, provided that the biological age of the child and the emotional maturity of the child are reasonable. Prior research indicates that peak brain maturation occurs approximately between the ages of 6 and 8 years, and again at 10 and 12 years, and that there can be a simultaneous accelerated development of the neuromuscular system. So with that in mind, by 12 years of age, most neural pathways for fundamental movement skills will be defined. Therefore, starting between like 10 to 11, you can pre and prep for that 12-year-old who has the neural pathways that are already. This evidence suggests that the pre-pubertal and peri-pubertal years are likely a critical time frame for introduction and development of superior skill levels, including those associated with weightlifting. I will mention from my own experience working with kids, especially girls hitting puberty, that there are some things that you need to be aware of with working with this age, namely hip angle for girls will change during puberty and gets wider. So this is a time when girls especially need to really work on glute strengthening, especially if they're in sports, as this is when old biomechanics that used to work for them are no longer as efficient. Also worth noting, explosive contractions during active play, sports, or lifting weights may increase the risk of avulsion fracture until closer to skeletal maturity.
That makes sense. I would think that that's way more likely in jumping activities than in
like we said before.
weightlifting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen that happen from weightlifting. I'm sure it has.
Mm-hmm.
So how to start? Let's go with that 10 to 12-year age. The aim of training should focus on general physical preparation, development of fitness characteristics such as strength, flexibility, etc., and specialized training should not constitute more than 40% of total training process during the first year. Often specialization occurs too early, with well-meaning coaches and parents hurrying the developmental process in many sports, including weightlifting. Lauren, this is a big thing. It's huge in baseball specifically, for pitchers, because it's not only you stop them from playing football and from playing basketball,
you stop them from playing other positions.
Correct. So then they're just constantly throwing, and they end up with really bad shoulder injuries.
Yeah, that's something we deal with a lot in my field of work, is trying to educate parents on the importance of cross training, especially for young kids, because that repetitive movement, not only just being a pitcher, but even just staying within a sport and not cross training to other sports, it can be pretty detrimental for them.
Yeah, and in general, you should cross train.
Oh,
So if your
absolutely.
favorite thing is swimming, you should also do some weightlifting or some running or both every now and then. So maybe you do 3 days a week of swimming. Weightlifting, I know for me, if I do all dynamic movements, I end up in pain in multiple areas. So I have to do some isometrics. Speaking of which, I need to start working on endurance for my dang quads again, because I cannot ski very long because my knees don't have any stability, especially my right one. Yeah, so I got to start working on that again, because my favorite thing is dynamic and jumping and just moving with weight as opposed to standing still.
Oh, wow. I can totally see that.
Yeah, you should be shocked.
Shocked. Travis doesn't like to sit still.
Right. So typical timeline for a child's development and typical training program to be used with a weightlifting beginner should encompass basic strength training, including body weight movements in the youngest age group, like gymnastics, push-ups, pull-ups, that type of deal, tumbling, and fairly rapid progression into free weights. So squats and pulling exercises with minimal loads. The emphasis should be to attain superior technical skill levels and proper form. Basic conditioning should be integrated with weightlifting training that can include flexibility, sprints, bounding, hopping, games such as soccer, basketball, and gymnastics exercise. I can't imagine that many kids get into weightlifting and only do weightlifting.
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
mean,
it's a sport that brings 99% into weightlifting.
yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely.
So, as with everyone who participates in weightlifting, there needs to be a huge emphasis on teaching and correcting form with proper technique, especially in the beginning. Um, so, Laura, what type of training should a child engage in? Say Joey comes up to Sally and Martin, his parents, uh, and he's a basketball player, but he says, I want to get stronger so I can be a better basketball player. What type of training is going to make him a better basketball player?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, to address that question, we have a 2017 meta analysis. In their research of 107 studies, they found that power training was more effective than strength training for improving jump height, specifically. And for sprint measures, strength training was more effective than power training for youth. Additionally, strength training exhibited consistently large magnitude changes to lower body strength measures compared to power training. So they concluded that strength training should be incorporated prior to power training in order to establish an adequate foundation of strength for power training activities.
Interesting. I would not have expected plyometric training to be subpar to lifting for sprinting.
Yeah, that surprised me too.
Specifically. Yeah. So the conclusion from these 107 studies would basically be that the Joey should do a variety and do some sports specific tasks and jumping and stuff like that, and also some typical resistance training, lifting weights, to get the most bang for his buck.
Absolutely.
So I don't really have a challenge for this week, Lauren. I think it's just like go lift weights.
Go lift weights, and go lift weights with your kids, or like let your kids watch you lift weights if they're super young, so that when they're older. Yeah, you're modeling. That's so important. Modeling is so important.
Yeah, modeling.
Get your kids involved somehow.
Well, great job today, Lauren.
Great job, Travis. This was fun.
Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week for another episode of the Health and Happiness Podcast. I would love to give you a tip on what we're going to talk about next, but we haven't figured that one out yet, so.
It'll be a surprise.
That's right. Tell all of us.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.